All right, let's take a look at two problems that involve distribution. Example one, if we look at this equation, let's read what it's asking us to do in the first place. Okay, it tells you that you're going to take 4 times, in parentheses, 1 minus 3x, end parentheses, and that's going to be equal to 52 ultimately. Okay. To start the problem, I'm going to draw the line down from the equal sign. The first thing that it asks you to do in the problem is to multiply that coefficient of 4 out front of your parentheses. And it's going to have you distribute that term, okay, to our two terms inside the parentheses, the constant 1 and the variable negative 3x, okay. So very first thing we're going to do, multiply 4 times 1, our first term, and that gives us 4. And then we're going to distribute our 4 to a negative 3x. Okay, 4 times a negative 3x. That negative is going to go with the term to the right, the 3x. Okay, so 4 times a negative 3x, that's going to give us a negative 12x. And then our equation is still equal to 52 on the right. Once you've done the distribution, now you have a two-step equation that you can solve by first isolating x, our variable term. And to do that here, again, we'll subtract our constant of 4. Okay, we'll subtract 4 from both sides of the equation. That eliminates that constant term. On the left, we're left with our variable term, the negative 12x. On the right, we've got 52 minus 4, and you're left with 48. All right. Then we can finish up our problem by dividing out by our coefficient of negative 12. Okay, so we're just doing the inverse of multiplying by dividing both sides by negative 12, following the golden rule of algebra. Okay, when you do that, you are left with x on the left side. Okay, and on the right side, 48 divided by a negative 12, that should give you a negative 4. Okay, so that way you've solved that equation. X should be equal to negative 4 for example 1. Let's take a look at another example of a distribution problem. Okay, and it looks a little bit like this. In this problem, we've got negative 3 times, in parentheses, 4b plus 1. And that's going to be equal to negative 51 on the right side of the equation. This time, we're going to solve for our variable b. Okay, we can do the same thing here. We can distribute our terms. Okay, and I'll draw the arrow to indicate that you're going to multiply that negative 3 by the two terms on the inside of the parentheses. Okay. So negative 3 times 4b, that gives you a negative 12b in result. And then we'll also multiply or distribute our negative 3 to our positive 1. So negative 3 times a positive 1 gives you a negative 3 as a result. And then that's still equal to negative 51 on our right side of the equation. Okay. After that, we can again isolate b and eliminate our constant on the left side. Add 3 to both sides. Okay, you're left with negative 12b on the left. On the right, you've got negative 48. Okay, this time, if our equation asks us to multiply b by negative 12, we can do the inverse, or the opposite of that operation. Okay, and divide both sides by a negative 12. Okay, make sure that you're including the negative sign, okay, when you're dividing. That coefficient includes the sign, so it should be a negative 12, okay. And after you've done that, we've got b left on the left side. Our solution here, negative 48 divided by a negative 12. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and our solution would be a positive 4. Okay, so for example 2, we've got positive 4 as a solution. Okay, that's the solution and the method of how to solve a problem with distribution.